Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Matrix Breakers. It has been quite a wild ride these past couple of weeks. Trump's been inaugurated, and it looks like he's running the government as if he doesn't have another shot, which is very true. And so I think that we're witnessing a level of speed through the executive that we are not used to. And I think that even if Trump were to, God forbid, have a heart attack and die or get shot and killed, everyone in America has been able to witness the power of the executive branch, the power of the presidency, how fast things can happen. And through the court systems, which will be challenging all of these various executive orders that Trump has already put into place, we will see the true nature of power for the executive. And it's a very exciting time. I think more importantly today, I'm just going to focus in on Doge. And I think that the reason why what's happening with Doge and the revealing of USAID and understanding it as a money laundering operation is important is it goes to the heart of the problem. This USAID department alone has corruption up to the kilt. And it shows the operating manual for how these left-leaning Republicans aren't innocent. Trust me, the warmongers and all the things very similarly. However, this more importantly and more likely left-leaning agenda has been implemented through the institutions. And this promotion of propaganda through media and charities, nonprofits, and non-governmental organizations has worked. The revealing of all of that by showing the ledger, showing the accounting book at the U.S. Treasury Department, how much money is funded to these various organizations for various reasons. And many of those reasons must be under investigation. Now, it's pretty obvious when you see funding that's already been revealed to the University of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, to create a coronavirus like bioweapon. And then you can see the funding go to the Wuhan lab in China. So, again, this validates more and more what we've already known to be true, which is that COVID-19 was a manufactured bioweapon. Been saying that for a long time. Now we understand it. It's almost like if you scratch your head and think, if that's true, which is factually true now, this is like you can see the funding, you can see how the money was coordinated, and you can see how things were shifted around and brought to Wuhan, and then all of a sudden, boom, that's where you have the outbreak. You can actually notice and or question the vaccines and in a more appropriate manner because you think, oh, wow, okay, if that was a planned event, a pandemic, well, the vaccine and solution must have been thought about beforehand. Yes, that's all what is being revealed now. All the vaccine research that went into it's not even a vaccine, it's a gene therapy, remember? mRNA vaccines, it's a gene therapy. Now, Russia didn't get that. They got a normal COVID vaccine that's like, kind of a flu shot. And we didn't get that here. We got all of the crazy poisons like America's used to. America has become a dumping ground of all of pharmaceutical products known to man. We are clearly the only ones, and New Zealand included, that have advertising allowed on TV. And so I think when you understand where we are as a country, a failing nation, right? Completely unhealthy, dying sooner than most countries, including developing countries that have, in many cases, no running water and the like. You have to question the big industries that deal with America's health, whether it's agriculture or pharmaceutical medicine, or just in general, the medical industry in itself, right? The way in which we address problems in America, the way in which we address our health, the food that we're eating as children in school. Like, why are school lunches complete poison, and how can we change that, right? How do we promote local foods? So I think that just to touch on this Doge thing, a lot of people are freaking out and they're outraged by it. There's very few people that are outraged. I will say that. It's really a lot of the politicians who are grifting from this operation, this money laundering scheme, because that's what you're witnessing. It's a money laundering scheme. But the outrage is totally misplaced. And it's amazing to see that there are still people who are in the program. They're in the matrix. They're programs that are taking what is being told at face value. Still, even though in many of these cases, we're already seeing how our taxpayer money funds the very propaganda that we swallow whole. The very propaganda that we all take into account as the truth because it comes from this media organization or a collection of media organizations. What they do, by the way, is it's a shotgun approach, right? You have multiple journalists who write very similar articles at the same time, and they release them all at the same time, creating this illusion of the truth. And now we know that many of those same media organizations are funded by Congress, which allocates these funds through US aid. US aid is a money laundering operation, was built by the State Department in the Kennedy years to extend our influence abroad. It's really simply put. When you think of a justification for US aid, you would think, well, America is a great empire, and this empire is able to have overreaching influence in other parts of the world. Well, how do we do that? Oh, let's set up an organization that does exactly that with churches, charities, nonprofits, and other non-governmental organizations around the world, right? Oh, let's fund healthcare here, food there, and water and plumbing. And so it started off as this sort of, oh, we're here to help, right? And then what you realize is all of these little bases, these kind of pseudo government companies, if you want to look at it like that, setting up in different parts of the world, you're extending your influence, right? And then when you think about it, it's really applicable when you see America as an empire. Oh, let's maintain the empire. How do we maintain the influence? Well, let's say it's charity, but let's be in all these nations. And then when the time is right, if a nation is acting up or not acting, that nation's leaders are not acting in accordance to what US policy should be, like you got Iraq, Lebanon, Libya, um, Syria, Colombia, Panama, um, I'm thinking about so many more. There's so many countries, right? And when they're out of line, oh, let's just funnel literal weapons in one case for sure, where they had AK-47s inside of what looked like, medical supplies. Okay? And then the AK-47s are then being given to rebellions, right? In these different countries. That's not US aid. That is policymakers coming in and saying, oh, this is going to be a CIA front that's going to funnel weapons and drugs and all this other shit through these organizations as a money laundering operation to be able to extend influence worldwide or keep other powers and leaders in check. So in some cases, as I mentioned, you can justify this organization as, hey, this is how America maintains its hegemony around the world. We have all of our tentacles out there, and we say we're really helping people, but really about 10% of the money goes to actual causes. The rest of it's grifted and stolen and corrupted and also used by our CIA and others for a specific policy agenda to implement some kind of rebellion or major change inside of a country, right? They use money to uphold their already established power, right? And so I think that when you break all of that down, you realize, oh wow, that was something that happened then, and that makes sense for that time period. Oh, well, it's USAID, we're just doing our thing. Over the decades, what has happened is it has become a slush fund of congressional funds, taxpayer funds. Really, it's debt. when you think of it, right? It's not really taxpayers. It is taxpayers, but really it's the Federal Reserve getting getting a loan from the Federal Reserve and then depositing it into the Treasury. Imagine that's like your bank account, and then making the Treasury allocate these funds through Congress and just allocating the funds in all these various ways. And so when you look at it and you understand that as a money laundering operation, you think of a criminal network. Think of how a mafia works, right? They've got a steakhouse and then they're really dealing drugs on the street, but they sell those drugs and then they use the profits and they run it through the steakhouse as if it's restaurant people, a busy restaurant, but maybe it's not so busy and it's just money coming in, deposits. Oh, this is just people who came in, bought food. Oh, no big deal. But then you start thinking of, these bigger payments, and if you look at that accounting book and if you look at it closely, you're like, there's definitely more than food being purchased at this restaurant. And you start kind of digging into it and you're like, oh wow, this is a whole drug operation underground, and it's all they're making, whatever, cocaine under the restaurant. So it's as simple as that. Everyone has seen movies and TV shows that represent that concept, and so to connect you to the real world, that's what US aid is, and that's what a lot of these treasury payments are doing. But US aid essentially it's an obfuscation. I can't even say that word right. It's a kind of like it's a way for people in the government to say, oh, we're hands off, we're sending this to US aid. But really, the US aid is paying organizations that are then headed up by the same politicians who approve that funding. So those politicians head up those organizations or they retire into those organizations, but really it's just taxpayer money. And then you think, oh, wow, that's why Washington, D.C. is the richest county in all of America when they produce nothing. All that's been going on is they've been looting the treasury. The politicians have put themselves in power. Nobody says anything because everyone benefits from it. And so when you get some kind of outsider, you just use the very same money to fund a campaign against the outsider to get them in line or to push them out of political power. Happens all the time. And so then you've got this guard that's set up, a guard action that's protecting their own interests. And then Republican, Democrat, they're all kind of in the same boat, protecting each other because they're all making this slush fund, and or they know one or two people that are doing it in the same proximity. So maybe they don't, if that politician doesn't directly benefit from this financially, they're in some way, shape, or form connected. It's like a web, right? So it's just you're too connected into all the corruption. So you say nothing because you'd rather just get along, move along, and try to get some other bills and things passed in Congress or the Senate or as the executive even, that are, somewhat good for your constituents and kind of feed them a bone here and there. However, you think of, oh no, this is actually the organization, USAID, that has been funding other media outlets and propaganda, the trans stuff, the DEI thing, everything stems from here, including overthrowing countries, including Syria, including Libya. I mean, you can go down the list. This is how they did it. They funded money, and it's a State Department thing, and the State Department deals with CIA. It's kind of a whole thing. And so this entire operation being blown out of the water by Elon Musk and this team, this Doge team, I remind you, it's about 8 people who are doing this. It's not even like a big deal. This was that easy. To think of the paper tiger element of this, to think that, oh, this money laundering operation, no one will ever touch it, and even going against the outsider, you just never really let them know. And so from what I understand, Elon Musk running this Doge thing, oh, we're making things more efficient. Okay, great. Where do we start? Oh, well, let's just, cut all funds and allow the president to say, hey, we're stopping all aid, right? And then what happened? They spun that into, oh, they're going to stop Medicare payments and Social Security payments and all the government money's frozen. And it's like, okay, no, they're going to stop all payments. Regardless, a judge overthrows that decision and says, oh, Trump can't do that. He can't stop, all these payments going to these various things, right? All these organizations, different departments, different, parts of the government, right? But we clearly have a problem. We have a spending problem, right? It's like, getting a hold of your daughter or something and they have a credit card. You just take the credit card away. That's it. You just take the credit card away. And so they can scream and bitch, but they're the ones spending. They're not learning anything. They're just constantly spending. So you're like, why are you bitching? I'm the one providing for you. That's how the Doge entire operation works right now. When a judge blocked Trump's executive order saying, "Oh, well, we can't stop all these payments. It just has to keep going." Elon Musk asks, "Where are these payments being made? Where do we start with, all these external payments?" Because when you think of spending, you think of there's all the things happening domestically. There's all the spending happening intertwined inside of our own government and inside of our own country. Sure, you want to kind of, get to that last. Let's get to the outside payments first. What are we doing spending the things on different countries that we may not have to spend? So you got to start there, right? So as the Doge team was looking into it, they were like, we really just want to stop all foreign aid. We just want to stop it so we can review it and then make approvals as necessary. Very simple question or ask, if you will. Very simple ask. Hey, we just want to review the foreign aid. We know that there's a lot of aid and everything. We just want to review it. They go into USA and say, hey, give me the ledger. Let us look it over. Let us see where a lot of this money is being paid and what organizations and how this is all working. The head of USAID says, no, we're not going to get to it. He quits, right? Or fired, however you want to look at it. And then before you can even think about it, Elon says, you know what? Something's wrong here. Fire everyone, take everything, all the passwords and switch them out, log everybody out of their accounts where they can't even get into anything. We're going to stop this by cutting it at the personnel level. So instead of just trying to rule on we're told everyone what to do, stop all the payments, but now they're just still buzzing away and working. So Elon goes in there and is like, no, actually, you guys are gonna all be fired, right? And so now they've reduced it from like 14,000 to like 263 employees around the world. Very simply put, he just wanted to find out, this is where the payments are happening. This is where the Treasury approves all 100%, by the way. These people who are supposed to overlook our tax dollars like right before the transaction's made, 100% are approved all the time. So it's like, what is really going on? There's no accountability. It's just been running rampant for decades and decades and decades, and no one questions it. So all Elon did was just go to the transactional part of where the money is sent and when it's sent, and just halted it all there, and then downloaded the ledger and said, holy shit, this is all that's going on. What is already being revealed, which would take months to get into, is that this entire government and or the illusion of power is all being funded by fiat currency into this fake idea of what we're supposed to be worried about or what we're supposed to be doing as a country. That's really what it boils down to. And so when you look at it that way, the people who could bitch or get lost and complain about what's going on, they have no idea. This is validating every conspiracy ever to recognize, this is how the money works. It's not even billionaires who are funding various groups and organizations and other companies that are pushing the agenda, right? The globalist agenda, if you will, right? It's not even billionaires. It's us. It's the fucking Treasury. It's like you're just taking this money, recycling it into USAID, paying it to a different company, then this company goes in and does whatever the fuck it does. Whether it's censorship, there was a company that focused entirely on censorship and social engineering on Facebook and Twitter. That was their job, like that as a company. But the taxpayer money is going to that company to then monitor and censor the same people who are paying the taxes. Like, now you understand, that's how this works. Billionaires don't even have to, people who want power and control, they don't even have to lobby. We're spending the money on, it's just really what it comes down to is who's in the levers of power that is making these decisions to allow our fiat currency to be borrowed from the Fed and then dumped into all these left-wing organizations. Again, right-wing isn't, completely innocent. It just seems to me right now that there's a hell of a lot more left-wing causes that are being funded. Like, by the way, the invasion of the southern border. That was all completely funded. NGOs, non-governmental organizations, putting cell phones in people's pockets, debit cards, getting IDs created for illegals, shipping them in, shipping them around the country, shipping them to different cities, really realizing like this is, and then children coming in, getting lost in the system, and you realize, oh wow, we have literally been funding child sex trafficking, which all of that is about to be revealed. I have confidence now that because of Doge revealing the payments, the money system, the accounting book of the corruption, we can now take that trail. If you start a criminal investigation, you got to start somewhere. You can start where the accounting book says this company got paid this much money on this day. What do they do? Go into that. Okay, what the Lutheran Church for Immigration Services. Not kidding. That's like a legit thing. So then you go to the Lutheran Church of Immigration Services, you go to that company and you investigate. You open an investigation. Say, hey, what is it you're doing with all our taxpayer money? I mean, again, it's taxpayer money. So that's like an open book, if you will. Because if you're receiving government aid, you kind of have a microscope on your business, on your company. And if you do anything wrong or whatever have you, it's very easy to lose government money and government grants, government contracts, if you will. If you fuck up or you talk to a Chinese agent or something like that, like the government can easily audit you and crack down on your situation. So Pam Bondi, who just got us approved for the Department of Justice, all they have to do is, okay, let's take this one company. Okay, they got paid, $400 million to do all this stuff for over 4 months. Great. Let's just go ahead and investigate them, see what they were doing, get their accounting books. What is their function? Who works for them? Then go in, raid that place, see what's going on, get the books. Might even find some other criminals and other criminal activities. We are funding various criminal activities. So yes, that's the boil down of this Doge situation. And I just wanted to clarify for all of you listening that this is a very significant thing to be developing. We are finally witnessing the validation of what people like me and others have been sharing for years, that there is something about the corruption in our policymakers, in politics right now, and through media organizations, through the pharmaceutical, like this is big. And what we're witnessing now is the full revelation of it. So I just wanted to share that with all of you. Appreciate you tuning in. And yeah, we're making some more podcasts, more shorter snippets will be made from this and others in the future. So really appreciate you guys tuning in. Peace.